What is up, podheads? Back with another episode of the Podio Slave podcast, and this is a big one, right, boys? This is a big one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is this episode 400? Is there a milestone? What is
I don't know
What's
what number this is going to be. No idea what number this is going to be. We're recording it. It's going to come out probably in the calendar year of 2026 because it's 30 years of Rage Against the Machine's Evil Empire, which we've done a couple of episodes surrounding Rage and never tackled an album because I don't know why we haven't done it. We've been talking about it for years since we started the podcast, one of our favorite bands, and we're finally doing it tonight. My name is Tony, joined by Anthony and Nate. How you guys doing?
Better than ever. Better than Ezra, even.
Dude, this is like I want to call it like looking forward to like graduation or like your wedding day. Like we've been thinking about this, I think, separately and maybe collectively for a long time. So it's like almost like we were like, I don't know, waiting for the right time. Now's the time.
Yeah, it was like save it. We'll save it.
Yeah.
But we have had anniversary opportunities, like 25. Yeah. The pod existed at 25. I don't know why we didn't do it because there is a Rage episode back there, which
we did a draft, right, of songs.
Oh yeah, I was trying to think of the concept. That's what it was.
Yeah, we drafted songs, and we also talked with Spose because he saw him live. But that was inside of other things too. We've never done one dedicated record, and we're doing it tonight. Collectively, probably our favorite record by the band. I would imagine all three of us ride for this one the most.
For Rage, 100%. Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Same.
And we'll get into all the reasons why. A lot of it's time and place, I got to say. Maybe if I was born in, 1982, and I was 10 when the self-titled came out, and I was big into Guga Garth as a producer, I would ride hard for self-titled, which I still do. But that's two for me. This is one.
Yep. I would completely agree with you. This is one, and a lot of it is time and place, right? We were born when we were born, and we were getting into music when this record came out. Let's start there. Who wants to lead us off with how they got into the record, when they got the record, all that stuff?
I'm jumping in.
Let's
Fifth grade, 96. Friend, I was going to say friend of the pod. He's not a friend of the pod. I haven't seen the guy probably since this album dropped. Friend in fifth grade, his older sister had the tape. And so he brought it in. And this was before I'd heard anything, even seen Bulls on Parade on MTV. And I brought it home and I was hooked, which is kind of bizarre to think about, a 10-year-old soaking this up. Like, this kid's in the neighborhood, neighbors, they have kids that are 10. And the idea that those kids would be into this, it just doesn't compute. But I was into it. And then I bought my own copy. And this may have come up in the pod in the past, but I bought it at Record Town in the main mall. Right when you walked in, like the JCPenney entrance on the right there, they had the wall of CDs, cassette singles at one point.
Yeah. Wow. Blast from the past.
And I bought the tape. And then shortly after that, because I didn't know how big this band was, I was just into it. And then shortly after that, Bulls on Parade music video was on MTV, which is a sick ass video. And I was like, holy shit, this is crazy. Because I was into, Dave Matthews and Green Day at the time, and probably Offspring, MTV Party to Go stuff.
Yep, I was into all that too. And then
Mariah Carey, Daydream,
that's come up before, right? That came up in an episode not too long back. Same for me. I think I got it in the summer. It came out in April, right? But I think I got it in the summer because I remember rec camp, Twan, which we went to. Our summers, that's where we met originally. Was a summer rec in South Portland. We went to the same side of the city's rec camp, which I don't know why I did. I lived on the other side of the city, but I remember we talked about music. We bring in CDs, like that's what we did. Like I brought in Dookie, I brought in Smash, I brought in whatever, right? Counting Crows, the first three records I ever owned. But then this came out, and I was like, people were talking about it at camp. I was like, I gotta buy it. So a couple months in, immediately asked my mom, once we started talking about it more regularly, that I need this, and she bought it for me. I don't know why, but she did.
What was her reaction? She was like,
she didn't listen to it. She didn't know. I would occasionally play that stuff in the living room.
Parental advisory sticker.
I mean,
she bought me Tupac in sixth grade too, so like around the same time. So I was a good enough kid that I got away with it. But she bought it for me, and occasionally I'd throw that stuff on in the living room. I remember playing Smash in the living room a lot, and she hated that, but wasn't a huge fan of the Offspring. But this record, I was like, I need it. We're talking about it in camp with all of our buddies, and Bulls on Parade video on MTV, and just was like, that is my jam. This is what I like about music. I love the energy from this. And as an 11-year-old, almost 12-year-old, like, buy this for me. I want this now. And sure enough, she did. And the rest is history. They're probably, I think collectively on the podcast, it's them and Deftones are our favorite bands. They're the house bands.
I would say so.
Yeah, that could be.
And it's probably Rage 1, Deftones 2, maybe.
It's so close.
It's so close. It's hard to do, right?
It's like elite short catalog versus the fucking blueprint of how to age as a band. It's like, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, it's a heavy band too, right? But yeah, was hooked and dug in. And my cousin, actually, who I have an older cousin, and you guys had older siblings. I didn't. I was the oldest. So he and I remember getting the CD and bringing it to my grandmother's house, and we listened to it. And he would like tell me about different things because he's somebody who's similar to us when it comes to nerdery. He just wants to know everything, drill down, and find out about all of it so he can tell everybody about it. And I would just sit there and listen to him and soak it all up, learn all this stuff. So one of the only times I had an older cousin / family member tell me about music, and this is the record that I can still remember sitting in my grandmother's, like, out back where the pool was, looking through the liner notes and looking through the album art with my cousin. So,
and then you bought the Anarchist Cookbook off eBay.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
Which I think if you buy that book, you get put on a list. So
the Patriot Act.
Yeah, exactly. Damn, dude, I'm stoked to hear both of your recollection on the come up on this record, and I assumed Tony would have a play by play because your memory's so immaculate. But Twan, you too, man, like right to the granular level. I'm trying to think, like, for me, Rage it goes back to, I think we've talked about it on this pod a few times, but not everyone knows the stuff that's stuck back there. But it was a lot of like live Rage Against the Machine videos at my friend Mike. Shout out to Mike. His brother was a massive Rage Against the Machine.
He's Mike in Texas, right? We know who Mike is. We've talked about Mike in Texas.
Exactly. So like seeing a lot of like Rage Against the Machine, not even bootlegs, just like I guess they were bootlegs, but like live performances by this band. So that was like my first like kind of like introduction to this band, was a live band that's profound and just so much energy. And I mean, Zack, we'll talk about Zack in detail later, but like the delivery from Zack and these words and these lyrics and the message, I was hooked from those videos. So when I got introduced to this record, my brother actually had it. I remember vividly the actual CD, which is like the black and white,
like
spiral?
A bullseye,
Yeah,
almost.
Bullseye.
Yeah,
exactly.
Bullseye parade. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for me,
Nice.
like I didn't actually go out and buy the record immediately. My brother had it, so I was able to kind of borrow it and spin it. And same, just like you guys are recalling, like looking through that artwork and just digesting it, and just the cover itself. And I know we'll go into this, but captivating through and through. Record, music, artwork, the whole thing. And just being obsessed. But like the fact that the introduction was seeing them live in these videos, and then actually getting the record and digesting that almost as a part two to the introduction of the band, was an interesting dynamic for me. I've never listened or got into a band in that like way, in that cadence. So I don't know. It's almost like it's almost like seeing, I don't know, call it a baseball game and then collecting baseball cards after. Like you're digging in on a nerd level after the fact, but you already saw them in action. So you get, I don't know, you're already a massive fan in that way.
You know what just hit me? I think one of the big draws for me in the moment was obviously the newness, right? Like it was heavy, it was edgy.
Yep.
But it had that hip hop flavor. Zack could rap.
Mm-hmm.
And I was big into hip hop back then, even as a 10-year-old. Like,
same.
Your mom bought you All Eyes on, or Tupac, or
even back
then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like, and so, and we'll get into this because there's a hill I'm going to die on. They are not a nu metal band. But anyway.
No, not even close.
There's some nu metal Rage truthers, and we'll get to that. But there was some familiarity there. Like, if you were a Beastie Boys head, this wasn't too far in MC ability and delivery. Obviously, the message is a little different. But if I'm transporting back to a 10-year-old, why was I drawn to this? It was like the foreignness of a horror movie, but something like you said, Nate, digestible in that I just had Beastie Boys as an app. Now Rage is coming for the full meal.
Food analogy. Awesome.
That's a good food analogy. And Beastie Boys walked so Rage could run, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Because like Beasties, obviously, we love the Beasties. We haven't talked enough about them probably.
We haven't
on the pod.
You're right.
And they come up every now and then, and I just let it ride when they pop up on my algorithm because I love the Beasties too. But this was a little less fun than the Beastie Boys, right? The message was obviously a little bit more intense, a little bit more political, where the Beasties had some of that, but not to the same level, right? They had Fight for Your Right to Party. They had all, they had a little bit more fun, where Rage was trying to turn people on to not everything's peachy, right? The world is difficult, and there's a lot of people that don't get the help that they need or deserve. And that was intriguing to me as a 10, 11, 12-year-old to find out that the world did in fact suck sometimes and didn't help people the way that it should. And not much has changed in 30 years, which is also sad. I think I texted you guys that today. They were spot on. Reading lyrics, listening through it to do this tonight. They were spot on, and nothing's changed.
So I could ask you guys, in '96. So like Nate, I'm interpreting what you said, that you were in the moment with Evil Empire. So let's assume we were all in the moment. We're 10 and 11.
Yep.
Did you guys know the message? Because I didn't. At that age, I had no clue. The optics of the band was great. It was aggressive. It was different. I think that came a little later for me.
I heard the music first and was intrigued by the music first. And then, like I said, sitting with my cousin talking about stuff. He was 3 years older than me, so he's 14, 15. And he knows a little bit more about the world than I do at that point because he's been around a little bit longer. And, not a ton, but you know what I mean? And kind of gave me going through the album art, looking at the books and explaining some of what's going on there, and then diving into that. And we're both thinkers and nerds, so I jumped into learning about that the best I could.
Yeah, my perspective is a little bit different. I think if I'm reeling it back to the live videos, and also to the sport analogy, if we want to call it that, which is like, those old baseball clips of like where there's an actual fight. There's hockey fights, but baseball fights are special because they're so rare, and when they happen, it's a fucking scene, or at least it was back in the 90s.
Yeah, 225
charging the
man
mound,
rosters are running out into the middle of the field. Yeah,
that's the first thing I was going to say, is charging the mound. So for me, charging the mound was seeing Rage in these live videos, and Zack going into these fucking full-on Martin Luther King speeches of how fucked up shit is. And for me, like we're talking about it, the message was clear out of the gate for me. That was my introduction. I'm like, whoa, this guy's like, I'm watching this, like, is this like some kind of historic figure? Because he already was then. As a 10-year-old, I'm like, this guy's speaking truth that I don't even really know really what he's talking about, but he's saying it with such addiction that it's gotta have it's gotta be relevant. And then obviously hanging out with my buddy Mike A's brother, who would elaborate a little bit on what he was talking about, which was super cool for me, that he had a little bit more context, and he's like, oh shit, okay, I did not know that. And just all the things that they were trying to address, So for that reason, the music hit a different level for me. And I think the music, checking out the record after that fact, was like seeing that baseball game, charging the mound, and then getting the baseball cards after and geeking out after the fact. It's like, all right, now like it's the music, but before it was the message. So I got the message first, which is very unique.
Well, then you watch more baseball games and realize that's rare. That never happens.
Exactly.
And so you're drawn to that. It's like, I can go see the Sea Dogs, or I can go see the Savannah Bananas, and it's really safe. Or I can go see Fight Club. I'm opting for Fight Club.
Yep. Exactly where I was going.
I'm going to the Maine Mariners. I'm going to the Portland Pirates even.
Yeah, right. I want the goalie fight. Let's go.
I hear that, but we're making light of it. But it was, I almost just equate it to like a rated R movie. You felt like it was edgy. It was something you were probably not even supposed to be exposed to at that age. But
like, good that we were. And I think I'm going to speak for the both of you, and I would imagine you'll agree. Maybe you won't. Tell me I'm, out to lunch. But this band and this record in particular are a gigantic reason I'm a music nerd, because there was more than just the music. It wasn't just a catchy song. It wasn't just a cool chorus. It wasn't just a cool riff. It was a band that had a message and was delivering that message to the level that so many people were taking notice. Because there are a lot of bands that have had messages over the years that didn't hit like Rage did. And a lot of bands that put music out and didn't have a message. They just were putting music out and having a good time. Rage did both. They became commercially successful, massive band because of how they sounded and what they were, their delivery, and the message was there. So it's super rare. And this band especially is the reason I'm a music nerd. I would imagine it's the same for you guys.
100%. This set it off. And I think I did a reel on Instagram and social media recently, which is like, what is the band that you blamed that kickstarted all this bullshit? And it's them. It's them, and it's this era and this album because everything fucking aligned. The visuals, the name of the band, the name of the album, the artwork, the CD booklet, the care that they put into all of it, right? Nate, I remember your buddy list used to be guilty parties, and it was taken from this. It's like that extra level of creativity, you know, putting the reading list in the artwork, putting the lyrics in the artwork. Like it was, you know, you had to dig for it, but it was there on a silver platter given their platform. And it was just very different because you got to remember, like I just said, I was coming from Dave Matthews' Under the Table and Dreaming. It's just a different program. It's a different end game, certainly, but you know, there wasn't these Easter eggs in that. And maybe there was. Maybe shout out Dave. Let's go. Let's get him on the pod. But
yeah, I'll talk to Dave.
But I'm with you. This kickstarted it for everything we've said so far. I love this.
Yeah, no, I agree with both of you, but on so many levels, because I think this record, and if we're going to call it this band, really was a massive paradigm shift for me entirely on how I looked at the world. Because if we're talking 96, like you said, we're in like 6th grade, like kids, you know, some people are still playing with Power Rangers and stuff like that. And here we're looking at this like insanely deep message on politics and corruption and all these things that like we're looking at our parents looking at the New York Times like, oh, that stuff looks boring. But we're getting a different perspective and we're getting the actual truth. We're not getting a narrative. We're not getting a perspective based on selling ads. We're getting a legitimate product coming from a place. And I know because I saw those videos I'm telling you about where Zack is speaking to the crowd like it's a fucking historical speech. And I actually look at those videos now as a 41-year-old as exactly that. That's our Martin Luther King. That's our hero still to this day, where that guy and this band and this record changed my whole perspective on how the world works at such a young age. And I really appreciate it because I never took anything else seriously, if I'm being honest, about how our education system works from that day forward, because it's like all these textbooks, all this pre-programmed agenda in school. It's like they all serve a purpose to an extent, but it's all paid for. And it's like, I hate to be naive. And I used to talk about this candidly with my dad and stuff like that. He's like, you don't want to go down that rabbit hole too much. But here we are in 2026, and it's like, well, dude, it's all open for
more people
now.
should have gone down that rabbit hole, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. And I really appreciate that we were able to get this at such a young age, because otherwise we would have been, you know, buying toys and going with the whole, you know, elementary level buy, soak, repeat, rather than this has got some substance and changes my whole perception on the reality of our existence.
Well, and I think we talked about it in text. We'd obviously love to have Zack on the podcast. It'll never happen. He doesn't do long form stuff, especially not nowadays. But I'd love to get in his head and say, hey, Zack, like you wrote this 30 years ago. Go track by track, dude. It's all still happening, and it all still applies in a huge way.
He might be, you know, bummed by that, which I wouldn't be. I wouldn't blame him. I mean, I kind of am, you know. Yeah,
it's like I gave this play by play back then, guys.
Yeah, and we didn't learn anything. Yeah,
didn't learn anything. It's still the same. Wake up.
Yeah. Well, there's
call back to album 1.
Yeah, right. and there's money involved in a lot of it, which is unfortunate. And you know, it goes back to the name of the record, Evil Empire, right? Like they're a band that was not afraid to put a message out there, like, well, the Evil Empire was taken from what Ronald Reagan called the Soviet Union, right? Well, maybe that's us too. Like
that's fucking us, guys.
Yeah, like you could, because of what's gone on in the world over the last 50, 60, 70 years, you could say the same thing about some of what we've done as a country, as people, towards, you know, marginalized societies and different people that are different, unfortunately. We don't have to get super political on this, but that's, if you've got a pulse and you feel a little bit, that made sense to you, especially if it's one of the first bands that opened your eyes to it.
Yeah, I think it's equivalent to like, and I know this came out big during kind of the pandemic era or even after, but you know, George Orwell didn't write 1984 as a warning as much as just this is likely what could happen. So Zack de la Rocha, same thing with Rage Against the Machine. It was relevant then, it's relevant now. History repeats itself or rhymes. It is what it is. So I don't think it was much of a warning as much of just an education and awareness of these things are happening. They're going to happen. They're going to continue to happen. unless some kind of massive sea change happens, and that's unlikely. But it's good to be aware, and it's good to be aware with the truth and free speech and free thought, rather than being told what you should do and what not do, and just go with whatever you're told.
Well said. Yep.
So we dug into early memories and kind of that era. And to be honest with you, I'm so glad we were that age, because any younger probably wouldn't have hit our radar, realistically.
Yeah, totally.
Any older, yeah, still would have. It still would have.
Well, we would have been fans of the first record. I mean, not that we aren't fans of the first record, but we would have been there for that, and then been like, oh man, the follow up. Like, what are we gonna get?
Yeah.
So I'm a little envious of that, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That and seeing them live at that time.
Yeah, we might have been old enough to see him live. I never saw him. You guys did. It's a thing, and they were going to play Boston in 2020 at the Boston Calling Fest, and then the pandemic happened, and this started, which is great, but didn't get to go see them. I was definitely going to that. So,
all right, let's get into thoughts, observations. I know for me, listening back in prep for this episode, I probably listened to it 5 or 6 times, and even 30 years later, I picked up on things that I probably knew were there, which didn't hone in on it. I'll start us off.
Yeah, give us one.
The fucking bass. The bass it's the loudest mix of any fucking mix in the history of music. Tim's fucking bass is so loud, and you know what? It needs to be. It's one of those things we said in previous episodes. The bass, I think, with Phil from Taproot, the bass you often don't realize it's there until it's gone. If you took the bass out of this album, different album.
Well, it's used in so many different ways too, right? Sometimes it's keeping things going while Zach's, delivering a verse or a rap. Because not the whole album isn't rapping, but there are times when he is full on MC, and you've got his slinking bass line in the background with Brad playing behind it just to kind of keep time, and it's fucking
roll right,
sick.
dude.
The
verses
right?
and roll right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Didn't hit me until this exercise.
Same.
And the verses, there's no guitar.
Yeah.
Tom's
it's just
smoking a cigarette in the fucking background,
getting ready to get the pedal going.
It's just drum and bass, and Zack cooks.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that.
So good. Roll right. Yeah, that's a big one. But yeah, this was, I hadn't noticed it. It's funny, you texted it to us yesterday, the day before, that the bass was turned up, and it was the first thing I noticed when I put it on to do this exercise. And I've listened to it a million times, but I hadn't noticed that, because I was like, let's listen to it and try to pick something out that pops into your head when you hear it. And that's the first thing I noticed. So we're on the same wavelength with that.
Well, like Nate said with all the other stuff, Zack warned us. Better turn the bass up on this one.
Right at the beginning. Yep.
Right at the beginning. People come up.
Man, that really showcases how strong this band is individually, right? Because Tom Morello is one of the most well-renowned guitar players of all time. Brad Wilk, same. Tim doesn't get his flowers often, but we're doing that right now. And I think production-wise, it was appropriate to make sure that he was very much so front and center, because it almost carries the music as much as Brad, as the heartbeat to the rhythm section. And then you throw Zack in there, obviously is so profound that it's almost amazing that it works, because they're all so powerful in their own right that like it's amazing there's a balance when everyone can, in theory, like kind of shadow each other out.
Well, think about it. Bluesy guitar.
Yeah.
A true MC with a hardcore punk background doesn't make sense, right? Even just those two.
Wild. Yeah.
Well, and then there's a lot of energy coming from Zack. There's a lot of energy coming from Tom's guitar. So the rhythm section's got to be good. And Tim and Brad are great. And I think Brad's playing on this record, as energetic and loud in your face it can be at times, is super kind of calming. It's a calming backbone to the whole thing, or heartbeat, as Nate said. Completely agree. It's not lost on me that you need those things to work, especially as a music nerd and having done this now for as long as we've done the pod, but just being fans of music for 30 plus years. You need those things for things to work correctly, especially if you've got big sounds and personalities in the room too. Another
observation. I'll just keep rolling here. So it's obviously on a major label. They were on Epic. The self-titled was on Epic. So it kind of has a little fit and finish of a major. But at the same time, for me, and this was emphasized when I listened back to this, it sounds super raw. And I go back to the imagery in the booklet. So in the booklet, there's that photo where they're almost, it looks like they're in a practice space.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
I love that photo. Mm-hmm.
And that's what it sounds like to me. That's what it's
exactly
always
what I wrote
like.
down. That was my next point.
Yeah.
It is the production on this record is stripped down and it's perfect. Yeah. It's fucking perfect.
It's perfect.
If you listen to Self-Titled, it's a little glossy, but not super glossy. If you listen to Battle of LA, it's super glossy Rage, right? They did 3 separate types of production on their 3 original albums. And I love this version of them the most. It feels like they're playing live. It feels like
I said the same thing. Yes. Literally in my notes. It's like it feels like they're in a practice space. It's a live recording.
I'm sitting in the living room or sitting in the garage on the couch while they're playing for me. Is what every time I listen to this record, that's the way I feel. And it is my because of the grittiness of this record and the subject matter and the way that they go about delivering that. It needed to sound that way. Brendan O'Brien, right?
Brendan O'Brien.
He's a producer.
Yeah.
I'm so glad it was done that way, because if this was glossy, it would be good because it's Rage. But I love that it's not. The production on this, the decision to make it sound the way that it does, garagey, like it's a live recording, blows the rest of their catalog out of the water. I think because it's what they mean to me is that the world is gritty, the message is gritty, the sound should be gritty too.
Yeah, 100%. So true. I think we've talked about it on here before. I think it's Beat It Now, right? If you listen in headphones especially, you can hear before Brad jumps in on the snare, you hear it kind of rattle a little bit. Shows that those things weren't cleared out or cleaned out for like this perfectionist, clean album, to your point with the garage sound. So I think I've always wondered, is it intentional or not? I think what we're gathering here is it sounds like it, or seems like it is intentional, which is wild considering it's their sophomore record. But the album artwork, and you mentioned that live photo, that's one of my favorite photos of any band of all time. I've always wanted that poster. So if you guys want to get it for me, it's expensive.
All right, I'll look.
Yeah, there's a promo one out there. That photo represents exactly the sound. So like the packaging, if we're talking about a cohesive product, is so perfectly done down to that photo. And that's the inner booklet before we get into like everything else. But production value, man, they really, Brendan nailed it. And I'm trying to think if that's his style or not. If I'm starting to think of like Pearl Jam records he's done, Incubus, etc. But for this one, I think it must have been some kind of agreement to make sure that the rawness of their sound and a live format is very much captured on the record.
Well, and that's coming off of the major label, the DLF, the debut, the DFL, the debut full length, and the major label debut, and
MLD, baby.
Yeah, coming off of those, right? And obviously having made noise with that first record, it's a decision to come back and strip things down a little bit and be like, they're not ready for it, and have it go off the way it did. Like, that doesn't happen. Usually you level up, right? You're trying to make it sound better.
100%.
And they do that on the next record after this, but I'm happy they didn't for this one. It doesn't need to be glossy.
Oh yeah, it makes me wonder, like the ad libs. Yeah, people come up, better from the bass up, come with it now. All that stuff. If that was just in the moment, right? Studio, just who knows? Like what if "Come With It Now" is something else? Like, it just could have been anything.
Would it work? Probably. But
yeah, it would have. We'd be saying it now.
Yeah,
but it's again getting back to everything working together in concert. The fact that live shot, or not the in studio shot in the booklet, exists in, it's almost like a sepia tone or grayscale overlay in my head. It lends itself to like, this is, it's not a major label glossy per se, it's not a demo, it's somewhere in the middle. But if it's different artwork, it might, like we talked about this with the Incubus episode, how the visuals shape the sound, and I think this did.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
it did.
I think that's the time and place situation where there wasn't social media, there was no YouTube. I mentioned those live VHS tapes before, which had nothing to do with the studio and the band in their element, non-live performance, with the exception of like practice space, if you want to call it. That's all we could reference. So you're hearing the sound, you're looking at the booklet. For us collectively, us three, like religiously studying like what is the wallpaper in that studio. The only other record I can think of that actually kind of captured that is the booklet for the Blue record for Weezer. Also has like kind of a garage look with like the guitars on their stands and stuff like that. Yeah. And you're like, nice, it captures that. Like I can see that picture going in this booklet.
And that's
for this
a garagey
record.
Album.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm so glad that they did it this way. I'm a broken record. This isn't a broken record. This is a perfect record. So I'm so glad that it was that production choice, and I'm sure it was on purpose. Had to be.
Yeah, we'll get Brendan on.
Someday. Yeah, someday. He's had his hand in a lot of records we like.
Open invite.
So I want to bring up Tom and his guitar and his style, right? We've come to the point in 2026, unfortunately, that people, because they don't, and everything is so politicized nowadays, he's always been political, clearly, in Rage Against the Machine for 30 plus years. People now saying that he's mid because they don't agree with him. He's not. He was a fucking visionary. Like, nobody was doing this. Now everybody's doing it, and they figured out how, but nobody was doing what he was doing, especially at this time.
And then they leaned into like there's just 4 instruments here, including Zack's vocals. Like, they lean into that. It's in the booklet. But like, if you need any evidence, go to Without a Face, fast forward to like 220 in it, and he just cooks. It's just
so cool.
Yeah, there's a song later in the record where Zack's rapping, he pauses, and then there's like these harmonic guitars from Tom, and it like, I don't know, puts you in a trance. Like, even to this day, all these years later. And I never heard that. I mean, I've heard it since then. Bands have done that, but back then I'd never heard that.
Not like that. No way. And you mentioned Without a Face. There's Zack rapping over a Panic riff, right? With this creeping bass line from Tim and just this kind of snare tap from Brad. And then as soon as he's done, Tom into this fucking god level guitar riff. It's like, and they knew right where to do it. It's amazing. It's fucking amazing. And his playing coming off of doing that, like just easy little Panic riff to make people uncomfortable while Zack's rapping about stuff that, with all the conviction of anybody ever, into, all right, now I'm going to blow your face off. It's wild. It's
so wild. In fact, because we're always geeking out on this band, because it is basically, as we call it, a house band for the pod, I'm kind of geeking out on Rage, I want to say, at least every other day on YouTube or just wiki or just whatever. And something I saw maybe 2 weeks ago.
I can confirm that. Nate's always sending us stuff.
Yeah. Something Zack was saying about, I think it was the recording for this record, actually, not even in prep for this, just me geeking out, is the fact that, everyone kind of comes to the table on what their idea of what the next record should sound like. And obviously they spent some time in between records. So we're talking about Tom here, and like, Tom is such a profound guitar player. I mean, he's extremely intelligent, Harvard grad. Just if you ever see anything on interviews wise with Tom Morelli, he's very intellectual, very well spoken, super nerd. So you got to think like all these different massive personalities, let alone talents, trying to come together to make a record. So we're talking about like what you were saying, Tom coming in with this massive riff, Zack's doing this and that. It must be so hard for this band to put songs together because everyone has like these strong talents, but also like I was saying earlier in the pod, like almost going to overshadow each other unless it's done very delicately. And when it's done, you get this kind of output, which is fucking insane.
Probably why we only got 3 records.
It's got to be.
I mean, four with the covers album, but 3 records, right?
Yeah, and the hiatuses and the breakups and stuff like that. You can imagine like there's a lot of tension, and I think the tension is because of the talent. We're looking at fucking legends in all 4 categories: bass, drums, guitar, and vocals. So it's a complex but beautiful disaster.
The song, it's Year of the Boomerang. At like the 45-second mark, Zack takes a pause from rapping, and there's these like angelic harmonic guitars, and then he comes back in. It's so good.
Last Track Magic right there.
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Oh yeah.
I love that song.
I used to play that song on repeat all the time.
I know, Nate. We used to. That was one of the songs early on in our friendship that we bonded over. Was Year of the fucking Boomerang.
Well, it's just those first bars that Zack drops. The sisters are in.
So check the front line. It seems to spent the 80s in a Haiti state of mind. Yep.
Yeah, I just always thought that was the dopest line. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about Bulls on Parade on this pod before numerous times. It's come up in the Perfect Songs episodes. I still know every word. I feel invincible every time it comes on because I can do it. Like, still to this day, from listening to it a million times as an 11-year-old, I can do every word from that record, that song, and it's an all-time song in any genre for any band ever.
Oh, it's so good. The last "Come With It Now" at the end, around the 3-minute mark, and then they kind of break it down a little bit and slow it down. Hits me so hard every time. And that's a song where if you took the bass out, it'd be a whole different song. The bass is cranked up and it's perfect. I mean, it's not a traditional single. I mean,
no, right?
Take the message out of it. take the message and the lyrics out of it. It's not a traditional single. I mean, and this was the lead single, right?
And it hit like 1 million pounds, and people fucking loved it, and it was played on the radio, and it still is played on the radio to this day. So kudos to those guys for knowing what the vision was and still pulling it off, even though you're right, this is not a song that you'd think you'd hear on the radio ever.
So let me ask you guys this. How did this defy everything and sell 3 million copies? The message is real, but left of center of what's going on. You get a guy who was in fucking Inside Out. He starts another band. You know, you get these bluesy riffs in rapping. You got someone who's a band that's questioning everything, yet it rose to the top. How? Why?
One word: originality. Nobody else is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Not like this. Not this time. I think that's the big thing, and it's heavy, and people like heavy music. Even though, I mean, we've said over the last 3, 4, 5 years that heavy music is probably the biggest it's ever been today, and I still stand by that. There were plenty of people that liked guitar-driven music, especially in the 90s, but this brand was pretty heavy for how popular it got. And originality, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think it's a massive hybrid of different things. I saw something, again, this wasn't even like looking for it. It's just popped on my phone randomly. It's almost like it was listening. Like a 1996 like starter pack, and it was like Janko's, a No Fear t-shirt, a Discman, Surge, the Surge
Chump t-shirt,
Surge soda or something like that, Spiky like the Jason Taylor Thomas like haircut, and
Jonathan Taylor Thomas,
JTT, baby. JTT. First JTT mention on the pod drink
ever.
Yep. And this record, and I remember thinking like, that's funny because like it doesn't fit, but it does fit, and that's another reason why this record got so big, because you're that kid with all that Janko's and like JTT haircut and all that stuff, but you're also listening to this record that's so profound because it's like dangerous. Like, you're cool to have it. You didn't know what the fuck was going on. You don't know what the lyrics. And then if you're a different fan that's a little bit older or more invested in the message, you're that fan, so that you have that. So you're like almost getting like these, I don't know, different spectrums of audiences that are either in it for the danger of it, like, oh yeah, I'm listening to Rage Against the Machine. Oh, sick. What's that? To like, no, dude, Rage Against the Machine is what's up. Like, this is, check out this message. You got that crowd. And then you got to also say, like, they're on Epic Records. You got to, like, that's massive distribution internationally.
Yeah, there's a machine behind them. The machine they're raging against is still behind them, pushing them. Yeah, it's
Sony, and I always thought that was ironic, but it goes along with Zack's message.
Just naming songs from the 90s. He said "Beautiful Disaster." He said "Ironic." Like, what else is coming up here, bro? Basket Case? Are you a Basket Case?
I think that was,
hey, save tonight, man. Just
save tonight. I think for them, it's a power move. It's like, yeah, let's go with Epic Sony to make sure this message gets to as many people on an international scale as humanely possible. So yeah, we're signing to Sony, but guess what? We're still flipping them off in the liner notes pretty much. So kudos to them.
So you said it was original.
Yep.
What genre of music is this?
It's not new metal. I would call it, heavy metal, hard rock. I mean, it's got hip hop tendencies as well, but
hybrid theory.
Yeah, it lives more in the rock category than it does in the hip hop category. Even though Zack is probably one of the best MCs in the history of music.
Yeah,
different story for this day. We'll talk about it in a minute, I'm sure. But yeah, I lean into heavy alternative, similar to like Deftones.
Yeah. It actually made me think just now that I think bands or music get categorized by the guitar sound in theory, because like Tom Morello is very much so influenced by Led Zeppelin, which we all know is rock. So if we're going to just call it where's the guitar going, well, he is pretty much very much influenced by Jimmy Page. So yeah, rock. I think indefinitely like rock is the category that they fall into, and it's the easiest one to categorize and sell is rock. They're a rock band. Okay.
We're on the same page.
20, you're not going to make the case that they're a new metal band?
Because where I'm going, and I'll die on this hill, Rage Against the Machine is not a new metal band, and this album is not a new metal album.
Hell no.
Nothing they've ever put out fits those categories.
You know new metal when you see it. This isn't it.
Yeah, if it walks like new metal and talks like new metal, it's new metal. This ain't it. New metal bands don't put out records on Revelation Records. New metal bands don't take out the Jesus Lizard and fucking Quicksand. New metal bands don't have this message. New metal bands have a DJ. Guess what? Rage does not have a DJ. There's no nu metal presentation. There's no Jinkos in sight. The only thing I can't bail him out on is the spelling of the in Year of the Boomerang.
Yeah.
That is the only, that's the only. And you know what? They had the message and they stand on business with it too. You know, there are nu metal bands that have pockets of anti this, pro this, whatever. They were this through and through.
Yeah, there isn't a song on here that's like the catchy upbeat one to try to get people to buy the record, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This was not Chocolate Starfish, guys.
I think
it's 46 fucks in this motherfucking song.
It's just a different thing. And I don't even know that like a lot of people think they are nu metal, but I've heard that like if I were to go on Holiday Kirk's best nu metal albums of all time, I bet Rage is in there, right?
It might be, yeah. And the only reason I think it gets lumped in ever by anybody is the hip hop connection, right?
It's the rap, right?
Yeah, exactly. 20 used to always say like a Venn diagram. It definitely starts with Rage and kind of spawns from there. Cult, Limp Bizkit, Head PE, so forth. Like the rap rock thing at this kind of with the hardcore elements didn't exist before. It didn't. I can't think of any band before Rage where it existed. There might be some stuff out there, but nothing comes to mind.
There were collaborations, label plays, as it were, right? We had Run DMC and Aerosmith in the 80s. Like it was a thing, but it was not the thing that it became in the late 90s. And they weren't that. Rage was not that ever.
Well, I was thinking about today. I was driving home from work. I'm thinking about this, that if this album came out today, because you got to remember when this album came out, Zack was 5 or 6 years removed from Inside Out. But if this record came out today, I feel like people might treat it like a band like Fiddlehead, where there's this former hardcore band front person who's now in this, we'll call it an adjacent band. I honestly, if this came out today and it fit that mold of someone who fronted a hardcore band a few years ago, they'd be headlining Sound and Fury. Rage would be headlining Sound of. They'd be in that circuit. They fit more in that. No Echo would be writing about Evil Empire.
Yeah, well, is 100%. Is this like if they don't put out the debut full length major label debut DFL MLD?
Yeah, if
this is the first record.
If Pat Flynn, instead of doing Fiddlehead, 6 years removed from Have Heart Ending, comes back with Rage Evil Empire, I think it gets treated in that circuit and not in the circuit they were in, which is the Lollapaloozas, the Woodstocks. I don't know.
Disagree.
Maybe I'm out of my mind, but with that message and that optics and that pedigree, imagine fucking Vietnam with no barricade. All the world jails and churches.
Oh my God. Here is your only God.
I mean, come on, people, come with it now.
Yeah, that you're probably right, but I think that fits a little better today just because hardcore music is a little more popular, I think, today than it was back then. So it's apples and oranges, but I hear what you're saying, and I think I agree.
Nerd thoughts in the car.
How is Vietnam a single?
Was it?
Jeez.
According to Wikipedia, who knows? I mean, looking, it was the third single in 97. I mean, nobody would. That's them being like, play my song, guys. That's me with two middle fingers up if you can't hear it.
Yeah, just and that exists now. It's the whole fear mongering culture. It's all of that. Zack predicted the future. It had Zack for Prez, baby. Nate for Prez, Zack for Prez.
In Europe, not in America, apparently, looking at my notes. But yeah.
Okay. I could have called that with Kerrang. Boom.
Why didn't you? Yeah, drink, everybody.
Damn, let's do it.
Let's talk the artwork. To this day, say I never knew the band, never knew anything about the band, and I'm going through Bull Moose, shout out Bull Moose, New England record store, and I saw this album cover, and you didn't know anything about the band. You're captivated. You're drawn in. You'd have to be, unless you don't have a pulse, in which case you wouldn't be in the store anyway.
What is that? Yeah, who is this superhero with an E and Evil Empire under his name? And yeah.
And why is he smiling and smirking at me and all this? Like he's hiding something. Yeah. But it just
absolutely
it drew me in. And to be honest with you, everything down to the colors, right? You get the yellow, then there's that like orange star, everything about it. It could be my favorite artwork of all time.
Well, and it fits the sound from the record, right? It's a little gritty. It's not super glossy. If you look at the colors and you look at the presentation of the the drawing or the art of the superhero, as it were. It's not like super clean and super glossy and in your face. It's very like there's more under the surface here than meets the eye, which is exactly what the record tells you.
Yeah, dude, you're so on point with the album cover. In fact, as I'm thinking about the first time I saw the album cover, I remember like I tried to force myself to get into comic books. So I was like, I should be collecting comic books, right? Like I should be doing that. So I would like go to like
Casablanca.
Yeah, Casablanca. And I would just like buy random ones. I didn't know what I was buying. I would see one that was worth like $10. I'm like, oh, that's probably worth money. Or I'd buy new ones and like kind of flip through them. Like I felt like it was something I needed to do. I don't know why I was trying to force it. But I think there's a correlation there with this album cover because it's like that, I don't know, easy to digest, especially at our age, album cover where it's like a superhero. Like it's an animation basically. It's not some arbitrary artwork or
photo of the band or
yeah, like it was easy to digest at our age. So if anything, it was like a cereal box with bright colors and imagery that was easy to pick up, and we were just intrigued by it.
They were trying to get us into the message, man. They were trying to get us to 10 and 11 to buy it and be like,
and it worked.
Maybe
perfect.
I do want the Anarchist Cookbook.
It was like candy. We're drawn to it. You know?
Oh, dude, it's like the Philip Morris playbook. Yeah, like draw them in, and they'll be hooked for life. So it worked. But yeah, that album, it might be my favorite artwork too. I love everything about it. And then you go inward, right? We already talked about the band shot or the rehearsal spot. I think you did dive a little bit into the Anarchist Cookbook. So there's a
and
book
the other
list.
books, yeah.
The book list, dude. I mean, holy shit. At that age, that is probably the biggest like revelation to the real world possible. Because I just remember reading the names and being like, what are these books? And then you actually like look for them and you're like, oh damn.
Yeah, they weren't at the Scholastic Book Fair at
Exactly.
school back in the day.
I bought Live from Death Row in college. I went on a huge like Mumia. There's documentaries, DVDs. Mm-hmm. I think I still have them.
Nice.
Like I went down that whole thing years later. But what else is there? Portrait of the Artist, Young Man, People's History of the United States. Anarchist Cookbook is the most infamous one, right?
Yep. I had a buddy that found that at a yard sale. I'm like, you're lucky you got that at a yard sale, buddy. You're not on the list.
Can't buy it online anymore, right?
Yep.
Yeah, this episode's going to get fucking throttled because we mentioned it.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember thinking like, God damn, it's so fucking ballsy. Even then, because as soon as I started to like understand what those books were, I'm like, this is heavy. This is controversial. I don't fully understand it, but like I said with my Mike A's older brother giving me a little context, I'm like, okay, this is more of an education than anything I have been presented with to this extent, to this point. And these books are going to open a whole new chapter. And I got some of those books too. I remember there's one about Leonard Peltier, another one of the people that they were representing in that time, and they still do to this day actually, and talk about in those speeches. So everything is verbatim. Like everything is backed. Like, here's the books, here are the speeches, here's what's fucking going on. It's fucked up. And I remember thinking, like, wow, like I said, my parents read the New York Times, we get Newsweek magazine, I get National Geographic, and I have this Rage Against the Machine record. And it's just like,
yeah, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Two quick hit things. The album sequence is perfect, and where they break side A and side B. So I had the tape growing up. So
oh yeah, nice.
Side A ends at Snake Charmer, side B starts at Tire Me. Perfect. Like we think about the energy there. And the other thing is on Down Rodeo, there's mention of Pen Devil, right? Which I always thought of like either a journalist or a judge or something like that. That's how I always interpreted Pen Devil. He brings that back on Guerrilla Radio.
Oh, no shit.
All the Pen Devils knew,
Oh yeah. Wow.
The Trawl as well. Army of Pigs try to silence my style. Fuck them all the boxes. My radio dial. Come on.
Jeez, dude.
Down Rodeo is fucking amazing.
Amazing. And I didn't know where that was until I lived in San Diego, and I'd go up to LA and like, oh, Rodeo Drive is like this, fucking posh street with every name brand store you can imagine, Gucci and all that good stuff.
And that's obviously the dichotomy of the rich and famous and largely white area, and someone coming down there that's not. Be like, yeah, you never seen somebody like me down here. Fuck off. And
the imagery is insane. Yeah. And then just the staccato guitars.
It sounds like a gun.
Yeah, it's
which works because he talks about rolling down Rodeo with a shotgun, right?
So good. The back half, if you think side B is better than side A, I'm not going to fight you on it. It might go tit for tat.
He has a line. Agreed, completely agreed. He has a line in there too that he also re-ups in a song with KRS-One a couple years later. CIA. You guys ever listen to that song?
Oh yeah,
Criminals in Action.
That's the sound of EMS? Whoop whoop.
Yeah, that
Semper KRS. Is that?
They got the network for the Toxic Rock. He brings it back in that one.
Oh yeah, you're right, dude.
He rips his own lyric.
Damn.
Wild.
And Last Track Magic, Year of the Boomerang. It actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Year of the Boomerangs is actually a great handoff to Battle of LA. Kind of upbeat.
Okay.
It's got a listen to it, and you it would not be out of place on Battle of LA. Where Battle of LA in spots gets a little more bluesy, right?
Oh, in the middle for sure.
I think. What you're talking about. And that record, not that we're talking about, it has grown on me over time. It is my least favorite album of theirs, but it's still solid.
Well, it's Glossy Rage, and that's after
they were in the Machine.
Goes to Tom Joad, right? That song is kind of glossy, and their cover of Springsteen's Goes to Tom Joad, I think that was like, let's go down that road and see what we can do with that. And I mean, it's still really good. It's better than a lot of bands' output, any band's output. So, but this one is my jam.
Rage TV on MTV, like they were. Before we get to Legacy, I'm being serious when I say this. It's not a rhetorical question. The whole Rage with the Machine thing, I know what people are trying to say, and it's directed towards Tom most of the time. Why? What did he do? I don't know.
It's the not agreeing with his politics at this point in our lives. Half of the country doesn't agree with what he stands for, and back then it wasn't as politicized
but it's not with the Machine.
No, it's not. But they think it is.
Okay. I'm like, what am I missing? Was there something that happened?
Given this record when they were 11, that's the fucking problem.
They can. Exactly. So they can actually read a book. Oh, okay.
They probably can't. And whatever. If you're one of those people, and I'm sorry,
they can't read a book.
If you're listening to us talk about Rage Against the Machine for an hour now at this point, you probably get where we stand. We're not going to get super into why, but sorry, it is what it is. So if you think Tom Morello's an idiot because he believes in what he believes in, then you've missed the point.
Yeah, the plot was you missed it. But that was always surprising to me, which is the whole Rage with the Machine and all that. It never landed with me. I knew what people were going for, but it was meritless and baseless in my eyes.
Are you talking about also their live 2022 tour as well?
I'm just saying in general.
There were people around that time that didn't understand what they were raging against. So yeah, but that's it. We talked about that with Bose, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Go listen to that episode. He saw him and he had it out with a guy next to him.
Right. How did you get here?
Yeah, like what the fuck? Again, how did you get to this point in the episode? But whatever.
And this dude's screaming something at them about Bernie Sanders and about how they're hypocrites. And I was like, and I just kept cheering and didn't pay him any mind. But just to say,
he thought they were raging against the washing machine. He's one of those guys.
He thought it was that. He thought that was the machine.
Let's go over Legacy real quick. This band could come back tomorrow, put a record out, blow everyone's minds, and probably be the biggest band in the world if they wanted to be.
Oh, 100%. I think the world needs them. The time would be now. I mean, if they thought 2020 was the time, now's the time more than ever. And I've said this on the podcast before. I don't even know if I want one. I'd almost rather just them go on tour, leave the catalog as is with the 4 records, 3 with the cover. But as far as this album, it's got to be top 5 for me. It set it off. We're talking 96, right? It set it off for me. I'm wearing a Rage Against the Machine t-shirt from almost 30 years ago. This set it off. Would I have found it otherwise? Probably. But this is the one where everything fired on every cylinder. Lyrics, message, band members, pedigree, fucking optics, all that. Every buzzword I've said over the last 300 episodes, this checks every box. And it holds up 30 years later.
Yeah, exactly. Really, really holds up. In fact, when you're talking about this band today, I agree in the fact that writing a new record, probably not necessary, because all the messaging that we've talked about in their 3 or call it 4 records with the cover record, but really the 3, the messaging is all there, and it just continues to be relevant today in 2026. Insane. So there's no reason to write a new record. The songs are applicable year over year. In terms of the band coming back in any kind of capacity live, like they did in that 2022 tour, really wish that I went to it. Didn't have an opportunity to, based on where I was living. But you watch the videos from that. Zack goes into the same speeches that I was referencing in 1996, 1997, talking about how fucked up shit is and how the songs that he's talking about from 1996 are applicable today. And he's doing a little speech interlude to talk about whatever was going on in 2022. Now we're in 2026 and shit is
worse. You can say
worse. I know. I was trying to say like different, but no, it's worse for sure. And so I can only imagine, what's going on in his head and the band's head and the offers they're probably getting to play to address the situation, because they are. That I've been making a lot of personal Instagram stories basically on the daily that Zack de la Rocha is my personal voice of reason, has been since 1996 when I discovered this band, still is today. He's the only person, with the exception to maybe, well, I don't want to get too political and you're like, call it Jon Stewart, like people that I can actually like agree with or not agree with. But Zack, I've always been able to agree with because it's fully free speech, free thought, and changed my whole perception on the way the world operates. And now especially just gives me a better understanding of, okay, it's okay to not agree, and it's better to understand things transparently than just run with it. So yeah, dude, this band changed everything for me. And I love this record and I love this band, and I do want them to come back, and I want Zack to come out and tell it how it is at some point. I really hope he does.
That would be awesome.
Come on the podcast. And you know what, Nate? In that 2022
podcast.
tour, he did it sitting down. He was injured for a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was still lit.
Early in the tour, right? He hurt himself on one of the early shows.
Damn, what a band, man! What a legacy. Right time, right place, but it had the chops to back it up in every way. Mic drop.
Yeah, hopefully. Again, we did this in an hour, a little over an hour. Of course, we missed stuff. Of course, we're skirting around some issues because we don't want to alienate anybody. We want people to listen to us and like the music part of it, and that's a big piece of it for us, right? But this is one of those ones that's got some politics involved and question some stuff. Go watch stuff. Go read stuff. Don't go to the normal places.
Yeah, I'd say one last thing for me, if we're talking about, Antoine, for you and I especially, like being a father. This is a band and this is a record that I cannot wait to sit with my son and say, you really got to look at every spec on this record. The music, the artwork, the writing, even the book list, everything, and just fully digest it, because if it's relevant now, goddamn, when you're 30, it's going to be even more relevant then. And it's just sad to say, but it's good to be aware than not be aware. And this band is the best way to digest that in the most respectable, cohesive way. Like, it's just better to get it through music, which is music therapy, than through the news, call it. Like, I'd rather him get it through Evil Empire than CNN.
Yeah. It's an Academy Award level album with a lot of depth. That comes from a real place.
Mastered in Maine, we win again.
Oh yes, shout out to
Bobby L, baby.
Gateway.
All of your favorite records were mastered in Maine.
And I think Andy Wallace mixed it.
Yeah,
he's another big name.
Yeah, Maine stays on top. The thing
is, like, they had this A-Team and Epic and everything, but it sounds gritty. They nailed it.
Well, that's
I'm glad we got into that.
Had to be by design. Had to.
Long live Rage. Long live Patio Slave. Long live you as the listener. Support the scan. Like, share, subscribe.
And tell everybody.
Tell all your friends. Taking Back Sunday.
If you didn't like this, tell your friends that you didn't like it so they can rage listen to it, please.
Exactly. Yeah. If Zach's listening, please come on the podcast.
Zack, Tom, Brad, Tim, any of you guys, we'd take all of you.
Nate's got pictures with all you guys. Nate goes way back, except for Zack, right?
I got everyone but Zack. Yeah, all random too. Well, I went to Tim's show, his first debut show with 7070. Yeah, Brad was at a grocery store and Tom was backstage.
That's still one of our bigger YouTube videos, Nate telling the story about running into Brad.
Yep. I hope you'd be proud of this episode.
Nate meets Brad Wilk at a Whole Foods.
Exactly.
That's the name of this episode. Mic drop. All right, boys, let's be done.
Right. Evil Empire.
Peace, podheads.
Peace, nerds.
Thank you for listening to Podio Slave. We are at Podio Slave on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all of the places that you can find us on social media. Facebook, Podio Slave Podcast. YouTube, Podio Slave Podcast there. Email us at podioslavepodcast@gmail.com. And hey, if you want to become a supporter, click on the link at the bottom of the episode and give us $1, give us $5. It keeps the lights on, keeps us going. We really appreciate that stuff. Thank you. That's me with 2 middle fingers up if you can't hear it.
I could have called that with Kerrang.
Dun-dun, 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 dun-dun.